Hey, this is Jesse with Anchorage Bedbug Heaters. This is video 6, and we're going to cover setting the actual system up. So I've actually gone ahead and done exactly that. I have set up the 2-heater system here in the great room of our demo apartment. So if you remember, this demo apartment, great room, has about 600 square feet. So it's not small enough that I can just heat it with one heater. So I've got both heaters up and running. So let's go over the parts of this system now. This here is the heater. When I went to go plug it in, I've got a fan cord on the top, and then also the 4 heater element extension cords that go into my different breakers. And we saw in videos 1 and 2 how to figure out our breaker setup. When I go to power this thing on, I'm going to switch on the green button first. That kicks on the fan, and then the red button. Now you'll see the temperature gauge here is reading 65.67 and is starting to heat up. So essentially it's going to be set to about 135 degrees. And that's our goal temperature, is to get everything up in that probably 125 to 130 degree range. Kill this now. Okay, so one thing to keep an eye on is each of our extension cords plugged in, the light is on each of the cords. That means that there's power getting to all of these. If for some reason we saw one of these extension cords with the light off, oops, of course it's not going to shut off because I got it plugged in on the other side, but if one of the lights was off, it generally means that I've either got a tripped breaker or I've got an outlet that's not working and I need to find a new outlet. Okay, so what we're going to do, we'll just back out here and take a look at how I've got all of these extension cords snaking around the apartment. So I was able to go look at my breaker map and see what breakers control what. So I've got one cord here in the living room, down here into that outlet. Also the fan. The fan takes very little amperage, so you can do one of the blue extension cords that goes into the heater part, plus a fan on the same breaker. Okay? You'll see I've got 2 cords here that go into the 2 bedrooms in the back. Each bedroom is on its own breaker. And so those 2 are supplying 2 more of the 4 heaters, 4 heating elements in the heater. I've also got an additional fan here. So when I kick my heater on, it's got a fan, but I can also plug in my additional fan in order to get better airflow movement. You'll also notice that I've got the bedroom doors closed, and I've got this closet door open because I want to get hot air into that closet. You can't tell, but right around the corner, I've got the bathroom door open as well, and the fan pointed in the direction of that hallway. So it's gonna take hot air from our heater, pull it through, and force it into the back and get it nice and hot back there. Okay, let's move towards the kitchen and see how the rest of this setup is going. Because I've got 2 heaters and 2 fans, I've got my second fan set up here, and second heater here in the kitchen. Now, I did the kitchen heater setup a little bit differently in that I'm running most of the extension cords to power the heater elements off of our box that's running off of the electric stove outlet. Now, you can see here I'm running 3 extension cords that go into 3 of the heaters here off of the stove outlet, and then I've got a 4th extension cord that I did something a little different with to be able to show you how it works. Now, one quick note on this box. The 220 extension cords, when they plug in, they twist. You can't just pull this thing out, it won't go. You have to twist it sideways and then pop it out. Okay, when you're plugging it in, you plug it in and then give it a twist, and that locks it into place. Okay, We would turn this heater on in the same way, hit the green first, then the red, so it kicks the fan on and then the heating elements on. But we have a fourth cord that's not plugged into my box, and that cord's actually going under the sink. One thing about kitchens is you'll typically have more than one breaker supplying the kitchen. In this case, I've got a dishwasher breaker, so a dedicated breaker for the dishwasher. Oftentimes, you'll also find a dedicated breaker for a garbage disposal. So you can a lot of times find independent breakers under your sink, especially if you go and check out your breaker map and see what controls what. Okay, one more thing I want to show you here is the plug-in setup for the box to go into the stove outlet. So if we follow this back, we've got our box. It goes into this 220 extension cord. And then the 220 extension cord plugs into an adapter. This adapter, again, it twists, and then you can unplug it, plug it in, and twist it, okay? So what I've got, and what comes with your kit, is adapters for all types. So there's a new and an old electric stove plug-in and electric dryer plug-in. This happens to be the old 3-prong electric stove outlet adapter, and that's what we've got down here behind the stove to be able to plug in. So I get this thing plugged in, and I've got my box on, and I'm ready to go. So now all I would do, because I've got my heaters and fans set up to be able to blow heat throughout this great room of this apartment, I'm just going to kick them on and let them start heating up. I probably check back in about 20 minutes or so, maybe 30 minutes. I want to see if any of my extension cords where they're plugged into the heater elements, if any of them have turned off. And then I can run over, if that's the case, I can run over, check my breaker box and see if I've got a breaker that's tripped. It just means that I'm going to have to move one of those extension cords to a different breaker so that one breaker isn't carrying too much of the load. When I'm finished with this, I'm basically going to take my 2 heaters and run them back into the back bedrooms, 1 heater per room, and let those get up to heat. And we were looking for probably 6 to 8 hours of having the rooms at heat. So we let it heat up. It'll probably take somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 2 hours or so to get this great room up to heat. So that's 125, 130 degrees. And I can use my little laser tester to figure out, in different spots what the heat's at. I'm also, of course, I've done some prep. I've covered my windows. I've pulled things away from the walls. I've made sure to pull open drawers and open cabinet doors because I want to be able to get heat everywhere evenly. If I've got closed cupboards or closed closets, it's going to take a lot longer for those things to get up to heat, if at all. So make sure we're doing adequate prep, and then we'll be basically just moving our heaters around in order to get the whole unit up to heat. Once we've got that done, we should be bed bug free. We're going to do one more video on FAQs, like what happens if something goes wrong or if you've got questions or anything like that. So until then, we'll see you soon.